George spent $30 million to buy out all the supplies in the supermarket. Then he silently recited a spell, and the next second, all the supplies in the warehouse were sucked into his watch. After that, he spent another $50 million to rent a villa, because this villa not only had a vault-level security system, but could even resist external damage. Even intruders could easily be captured and transported outside. And the reason George did this was because he accidentally gained the special ability to foresee the future. It turned out that 3 days later, the global temperature would plummet and the world would face an unprecedented cold wave. 99% of humanity would die in this disaster, and George's family was fortunate enough to survive. But in the extreme cold, supplies were scarce, especially food and water. Helplessly, George had to go search for supplies alone. However, his ungrateful adopted brother Jack actually secretly ate behind the family's back. When George discovered it, he still refused to admit it, and George even gave him a beating. When the family heard the commotion, they rushed over. Jack then staged a play on his own, claiming outright that George not only stole food, but also wanted to trade the family for supplies. Hearing this, the whole family began to accuse George, and they didn't even listen to his explanation, insisting on driving George out of the house. No matter how George begged, he couldn't awaken his parents' love. And so, George was thrown out and froze to death in the extreme cold. In the end, the family even used George's body to trade with the mob boss for a bag of chips to fill their stomachs, and George became the mob boss's food. Unexpectedly, in the next second, his consciousness returned to real life. At this moment, his parents were scolding him. It turned out Jack had deliberately ruined their father's $10 million painting and framed George for it. So George was punished by the whole family. And the reason Jack did this was just to drive George out of the house, so that as the adopted son, he could inherit their billionaire father's fortune. Looking at this vicious family before him, George swore he would make them pay the price. Then, in front of everyone, he taught Jack a lesson and even cut ties with his family. But when he walked out of the house, he realized he was penniless now, with no money at all to buy supplies. Just when George was at a loss, he suddenly thought of a good idea. He immediately called his good friend William and arranged to meet him at the bank entrance, planning to use his car and house as collateral to borrow money from the bank. After all, once doomsday came, the money wouldn't need to be repaid. But when he said this, William was instantly shocked and immediately stopped George. Then George told William about the disaster he had foreseen. Before the disaster arrived, what they had to do was prepare supplies, otherwise everyone would die. But William thought George was joking. Seeing the other didn't believe him, George had no